Hi, everybody. We do still have people coming in, but I don't want to take any more time. So hopefully they'll join in and can catch up as we're going. I want to welcome everybody to this very special edition. This is our first special edition of World Kitchen. And this is, of course, in honor of Black History Month. And I have Shawn Carter with me from Carter's Table Catering Service. And Shawn is going to be doing some apparently delicious shrimp and grits because this looks pretty amazing. Can't wait to see and smell and taste them. I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank the Penn State Finance and Business Office of Diversity and Inclusion for sponsoring this special edition. And let's see, what else do I need to tell you? Obviously, I'm unmasked while I'm on camera. When we are not on camera, we will be masked per Penn State policy right now. And so everybody else in the room is masked and we are socially distant. So just to get that out of the way. And let's see, I think that's about everything. I'm going to turn this over to Shawn, and I hope you all enjoy this and cook along with him. If you do decide if you are cooking along with him, please let us know. If you do need to ask a question, feel free to unmute and ask, or put the question in the chat and we will try to get Shawn to answer your questions. He won't be able to see it exactly while he's cooking, but we'll try to get the questions to him. Other than that, please try to stay muted so we're not getting any background noise. And after that, I'll take it away, Shawn.
Thank you, Tamara. My name is Shawn Carter. I wanted to thank Tamara for having me in her house to show you guys how to make shrimp and grits. A little bit of my background. I started cooking when I was 15. At a country club in Newcastle, PA. I was the dishwasher, and my brother was a sous chef, and he saw that I was kicking butt as a dishwasher, and he thought that I'd be a good cook, and started cooking when I was about 16 for good. And I worked in many different restaurants since then. Did various things, started a car wash business here, did a little bit of real estate, but I always loved to cook at my home. And God gave me an ability to cook and to serve people and to be hospitable, and I wanted to use it. So I started a catering business. The thing about food is it brings us together. It's one of the things in this world that brings everybody together. Everyone has a dish that they've loved from their childhood that makes them feel good. And you'll see with this recipe with shrimp and grits, it's one of those dishes that has humble beginnings, and it is definitely a dish that has that same feeling. It brings people back to where they were from, right? And which is the history of shrimp and grits begins in West Africa. It was brought here, slaves were brought here from West Africa, brought to our shores. And when they got here, they wanted to feel at home, right? And they were made to cook. And then, so when, just imagine if you're coming from far away and you're meant to cook and you're meant to live life, you want to bring stuff from your home, right? You want to bring stuff from a place that made you feel good. So a lot of the plantation cooks started to cook, right? They started to cook things that they know, right? Western Africa, as we'll talk about more, shrimp is one of the dominant proteins there. And when they got here to the shores of America, they saw shrimp, right? There's shrimp everywhere. The coastal Carolina, Georgia, all up and down the coast. So they also were given a ration of cornmeal, and cornmeal was similar to what they used in West Africa, which was like millet, garum, right? So the dominant dishes over there were starch, and then you add on a soup, kind of like jambalaya, or gumbo, right? So they wanted to marry those two things, and the basic recipe of shrimp and grits was basically 3 ingredients. It was butter, shrimp, and grits. So we're going to get into it a little bit. I'm going to teach you guys a little bit how to make a stock out of scraps in the shrimp shells. So we're going to get into it. I have mushrooms, I have shrimp, I have onions, I got some chicken stock here. All right, so we're gonna take these are Bella mushrooms. I think in the recipe there are it says crimini. You can use really any mushroom you want. White ones, these Bella are good. One thing about cooking that I love is once you get the base, the framework of a recipe, you can kind of do what you want with it, right? If you don't like mushrooms, you don't need to add mushrooms. Okay.
Okay, tell me what you're doing with the mushrooms there. You just took all the stems.
Took all the stems out because I'm going to use the mushrooms in the main part of the dish. So we're going to put the stems into the stock. All right, along with, so I'm going to use an onion in the main recipe. I'm going to take the ends of the onion and the skin. And when you're cooking, you want as much flavor as you can get, right? So we're going to use these stems and
That's crazy. I never thought to put the skin in there.
you can put the skin in because all we're gonna do is we're gonna strain this. We're gonna cook it for about 30 minutes and then strain it. Okay. So even the ends, we're gonna use green onions, right? At the end for some garnish on top. So we're gonna put those in there. And then I'm gonna peel these shrimp. Now we're in Central PA, so it's tough to find really good shrimp. So, but you can find them locally. The best thing to do is get, I don't know if you guys can see this, deveined shrimp with the tail on and basically whole. There we go. Shrimp. If you find the heads, that's even better. Okay, so we're just gonna peel these and then add the shells right to the broth. Okay. And all we're doing is building flavor. Okay, so you're gonna hear words like stock and broth. Those are basically the same thing. The difference is the use of bones in the two of them. A broth usually has bones in it. A stock is cooked with the meat also.
Carolyn's asking why the shrimp heads are better. I guess that's just so you
Flavor.
put more flavor in your
There's a
stock.
lot of flavor in the heads also. Okay.
If somebody wants to ask a question, I think Deb has her hand raised. She could unmute and ask a question. Deborah Wolf.
Mhm. So if you cook it a lot at home, you should have a bowl for scraps because you don't want to throw those scraps away. You want to use them for stocks, soups, just to add flavor. I'm showing you that right now.
So if I'm making a dish, let's say today, and I know I need to make a stock for something in a couple days, I can save all that, put it in a bag and throw it in the fridge?
Yep, put it in the fridge. It'll last, a week in there.
Okay.
You could even freeze it if you want. Because if you start making your own stocks and broths at home, that'll save you money, because then you don't have to buy chicken stock, vegetable stock. You have your own.
I noticed like you're using chicken broth or chicken stock
Mhm.
for this shrimp recipe.
Right.
Do you typically do that, or do you make a seafood stock?
It's really up to you. It's just adds a little bit more flavor to it. Some people that make this dish, they use chicken base. They'll add chicken base to it. And when you taste this, you're gonna taste the shrimp more than anything. It's not really gonna taste. They're gonna taste any chicken in there. So. All right.
Yeah, I know the seafood stock can be hard to find.
It is hard to find. They have that better than bouillon paste that's really good. They have a lot of different flavors. But a lot of people will throw these shells out, and you could even roast the shells, get some color on them. That'll give you even more flavor.
Yeah, Terry's saying she always has a bag of vegetable ends in the freezer, and she also freezes shrimp shells.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Okay, so we're gonna get this on the stove. So I had, let's see, 5 cups of broth in there. Okay, so you want to bring it up to a boil, and then once it comes to a boil, you want to simmer it, because if you keep it at a boil, you're going to lose your stock. You're going to lose it because it's going to boil out. It's going to evaporate. So you want to make sure you have enough stock in there for your grits. Okay, because that liquid we're going to use for the grits. We're also going to take some out of it, and we're going to use it for the sauce for the shrimp and grits. Okay, so now we have the shrimp in the bowl. We're going to add cornstarch to it. Pretty sure the recipe says about a teaspoon, but it's really about getting it coated. All right, because this is going to give it a good texture whenever we saute. You want to season it also, put some salt, pepper in there. And you'll see as I go, we're going to try to season everything, because flavor is what we're trying to get here. Okay, so we're going to mix this up.
While you're mixing that up,
Sure.
I want to show everybody this really cool seasoning apparatus you have here. I think it's
thanks.
I've seen it on TV before, but I've never seen one in person. So what are the items you have in there?
Oh, so this is red pepper flakes, salt. This is za'atar, pepper, and then this is a Asian seasoned salt.
Okay.
So a lot of different
Different
cuisines there. You know, you never
yeah,
know
I
what
love
you
the
need.
za'atar. We use a lot of za'atar in our food as well.
Right. So I use that a lot. It's good to have. Us chefs know what we're doing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So-
one of our guests is asking, she said when she tries to cook shrimp, she always overcooks it. What's the secret to not overcooking your shrimp?
We're actually we're gonna talk about that when we
Okay.
start sauteing it. I'm gonna give you some tips on that. It's basically, most people overheat or overcook shrimp, and they can get really tough and chewy when you do that.
Somebody said you don't have baking soda on the recipe. How much did you put
So-
in there?
Baking soda, that's actually a typo.
Oh, okay.
So if you guys put it in, it's totally fine if you did that. I don't have the baking soda was not in the list up top. but it was in the directions.
Ah,
So
okay,
it's okay if you put it in there. It's not going to hurt anything. There's a very small amount that,
okay.
so it's just
Cornstarch.
the cornstarch. Yes.
And how
salt,
much was that?
salt and pepper. It was I put about a tablespoon in it.
Okay.
The main idea is to get it coated.
Mhm.
You know, if you put a teaspoon in there, it's not enough. Just make sure you coat it. Because you're going to see, this is all about textures. Okay. The draw to me to shrimp and grits is the different textures in it, right? You have creamy, you have a little bit of spice, a little bit of crunch from the vegetables, and then the bacon, you know, so there's a lot of different things going on.
Mhm.
And, you know, some people like to just saute the shrimp as is, which is fine, but you're going to see this gets a little bit of crust on it. It's a little bit more texture. And the cornstarch also is going to thicken up the sauce. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our bacon. Actually, we're going to cut the vegetables first, get all our vegetables in place first. So we have our mushrooms here. We're just going to slice them. If you like them big, keep them, just slice them like that, about a 1/4 inch. If you like them smaller, you can cut it in half and then slice it. I like them to be big, okay? But I'll just show you how another way to do it. Okay, because you want to have those, I like to have those chunks in there. Right? Give it texture, because if you cut them really thin, they're going to get mushy.
So a big buzzword a couple years back related to mushrooms, but I never really understood exactly what they meant when they talked about umami.
Umami.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, umami is a flavor that comes from.
Is it an earthiness?
So
is that
it's like salty, sweet, tangy. It's something that you really can't put your finger on.
Exactly.
There's umami in like Parmesan cheese. You can't really put your finger on what that tastes like, or that exact taste or flavor is. When you sear a steak really well, that outer crust you're developing umami in that. And yeah, that's definitely a buzzword.
I think of it with all the very much in style the last couple of years, truffles and everything with truffle salt, truffle everything, truffle paste. Yeah. Let's see.
I'm dicing the onion now. It says a medium onion. I'm just using a 1/2 of a large onion here. Okay.
Someone's asking about your grits. They're saying
yes,
instant or non-instant, and someone else said instant. Yuck.
We don't want to use instant. We're actually going to talk about that, but
okay.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to cook one type, but I'm going to show you 2 different types.
Okay.
And you know, around here, it's tough to find a lot of different kinds. Right? You can search everywhere. I mean, I went to a couple different places and only found 2 different kinds. So it's really what your preference is, but we'll get to that when I start cooking them. So I got on your recipe, it says bell pepper. It says a 1/2 of a bell pepper. I'm going to use some liberties here, and I'd like to add. So I like the color of it, right? The color of red, yellow, and orange bell pepper. Makes it look nice, gives it some flavor. It's pretty much all the same flavor, but gives you some color. So I'm going to use about 1/4 of a red, 1/4 of a yellow, and 1/4 of an orange. All right, and you're going to see how nice the color turns out. Okay, small dice. Use together. Take this yellow. once we get this all chopped up, we're gonna start building our flavors. I like to use a cast iron skillet.
You could do a whole show on cast iron.
You could. I mean, some people have them for a couple generations.
Yeah,
They last forever.
and the care and seasoning. And yeah, you could do a couple shows maybe on cast iron.
Okay, so I got that. So I'm gonna do 2 cloves of garlic also. Mince that. Stock is boiling. They're not boiling yet. It's getting there. So one thing about recipes that were made by African slaves, not a lot of recipes were written down. They were passed down by orally, right? The person that really brought it to the masses, his name was Bill Neal, and he was a cook, a chef in North Carolina at Crook's Corner. It's actually still there. And when I did research for this, the rabbit hole that I went down, every turn, Bill Neal's name showed up, right? He was a white chef, but he took the basics of the dish I talked about earlier, the 3-ingredient dish, and he used local ingredients, and he basically made this recipe is similar to how he made it with bacon, veggies, and obviously shrimp and grits. But you can go there now and see that.
Is there
dish.
ever a good substitute for garlic if someone has trouble digesting it? This person says she loves garlic, but it doesn't love her.
Oh, I feel for you. I feel bad. Substitute. I don't know if powder, like just garlic powder, would do it. There's really not much of a substitute for garlic.
Yeah, my daughter, my oldest daughter, has issues with all of the nightshades, but garlic and onion too, and so she can tolerate the garlic powder and onion powder. I don't know why.
Yeah, I would just try that. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer. You get a lot of flavor out of the vegetables though. So I'm taking this bacon. I went to the butcher and I said, just give me a hunk of bacon. This is basically a 1/4 pound. They want 4 slices in the recipe, but I like to cut it myself. So I cut it into basically lardons, which are chunks. Bacon, right? We're gonna render this down. We're gonna get the bacon fat, and that's gonna be the start of the base of the sauce. Okay, so I should have had this on earlier, but drop that in. Start sauteing it. So you can check the broth here. Got it at a low simmer. Okay, it's been simmering for about 10 minutes now. Once that's done, we're gonna strain it out, and then we're gonna take about 2 cups of that out, and then we're going to start making our grits.
Would pancetta give you the same results?
Yes, I would cut it thick if you can. Again, it's your preference, really. Because we're going to cook this, we're going to get it crispy. then we're gonna put it on top of the shrimp and grits when we're done. Okay. So
Okay, a little bit of a off food topic question. Do you think the lack of historical written down recipes in the Black community was due to the fact that it was illegal for slaves to read and write?
yes. Yes. I mean, that's a very it's a logical reason, right? And that's the unfortunate thing about that era was things weren't written down, right? And a lot of dishes that we know of as Southern came from those plantation kitchens, right? Which were brought from West Africa, right? So it unfortunately it took someone in the mainstream or someone like Bill Neal to bring this dish to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we were talking about this when Shawn was here earlier in the week to kind of set things up and have a look at the kitchen about how, shrimp and lobster and a lot of seafood was the poor man's food until the white community got wind of it and turned it into something very, very expensive. Because they were the bottom feeders and, for a long, long time, people didn't want to eat that. But then when they got a taste of how the Black community can make this taste amazing, it's now become very mainstream.
Right. You got to figure, in West Africa, they were making these dishes from crustaceans and shellfish for thousands of years, right? So for them to come here and find exactly what they were cooking there was a blessing, really. It was just like, okay, we have something from home, make us feel like we're at home, and we're going to take it to a place that people here weren't doing at the time. So you see this dish, first time I had it, I was in Savannah, Georgia. It was passing through. I had it. It was much different than the way this is made. There were no vegetables in it. Well, there was a little onion and garlic, but not much. Cheese grits, but it was different, right? So, and then if you go to New Orleans, it's different there, right? And then there's places in Houston that are making it with andouille sausage. Tongue twister. So instead of using bacon, they're using sausage. You're still getting that pork fat in there, but they're using sausage. Even as far up as Seattle, this dish is everywhere.
Yeah, you'd think any community that has great seafood, it would be kind of a prime dish to create, right?
Right. Sometimes you'll see. I even read about Jewish communities using like salted cod, right? And salted cod over grits. Basically the same thing. It's not a shellfish, but it's a fish over starch, right? It's just pretty much the same.
Jessica says there's a fantastic show on Netflix called High on the Hog.
Yes.
It documents the origins of African food in America.
Yeah, so there's a getting this. Yeah, there's an example of the mainstream media starting to catch wind of all this good food and how African Americans and African slaves brought these techniques and this food, and it's been the basis of a lot of huge like booms in port cities like Baltimore, New Orleans, like I said, Savannah, right? And the roots are West African, right? Somebody actually said that Mozambique, which is in Eastern Africa, was also the origins of this dish, right? So, it's cool to see how it's evolved and now the recognition is happening. So.
Christopher says it's really cool to hear that some of the written recipes originated from his home state of North Carolina. In your travels, which recipes do you prefer? I guess overall.
From shrimp and grits.
I guess in your travels in general.
Cool. So I've been pretty blessed to travel a lot. I've been to Italy, been to England, been to Argentina. A lot of places in Pennsylvania, in the South, been in New Orleans. I think the best dishes are the ones that are comfort food, right? The ones that basically come from someone's kitchen. And I'm partial to meat, like any kind of meat. You know, I grew up eating Lebanese food, Italian food, and meat is probably, any kind of meat is probably the best for me. Trying to think of some good recipes.
He also wants to know, have these dishes that you've tried in your travels, have they had an impact on the recipes you create yourself?
Oh, no question, no question. I have, like I said, I have a catering business, and one of the most popular things I do, and actually at my house, is chimichurri sauce, which when I was in Argentina, our son Parker was on an exchange program, and we went to, let's see here. Sorry, let me get this started and I'll continue. All right, so we're gonna start building this. We have some bacon grease in here. I'm gonna take it out, take some of it out, actually. You want to leave about 2 tablespoons in there. Take some of it out here.
My grandmother always had a can by the stove for
Yeah.
her bacon dripping.
Yeah, you should always save it.
Yeah.
Don't throw it out. That's gold.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna put in the onions.
I told you I'm also from the South, Southern Indiana.
You know what? Hold on, I gotta. I missed a step. Excuse me. I missed a step. Just gonna take these out quick. We have to saute our shrimp first. Just so you know, this is live cooking.
Yeah.
We make mistakes here sometimes.
Hey, we do it all
Everyone's
the
probably
time.
like, "Oh, you missed a step." Sorry, I'm here. All right, so. Okay, so. I'm gonna put a little bit back in here because I lost some. Okay. Now, back to the shrimp. I need some tongs. You need tongs?
I'll come around and
Sorry.
find some for you.
So someone had a question earlier about cooking the shrimp. Okay, so I'm gonna get this up, the heat up on here to, so it's almost smoking. Okay, so what we're gonna do with the shrimp is we're gonna basically sear it really fast. Cook it about 75% of the way. Thank you, Shawn. We're gonna cook it about 75% and then take it out. And then when we put it back in the sauce, it's gonna cook more. Okay, so we don't want to overcook it because then it gets chewy. Okay, so when you put, a lot of people that cook at home, they're afraid of making things too hot, right? Because they're afraid that it's going to burn. Okay. Obviously, you don't want to burn things, but you want flavor. And we talked about umami earlier. Sometimes you can't get that flavor unless you're just confident that you're not going to burn it, right? It takes some time. You might mess up, you might burn it here and there, but it's okay.
So you want to sear it.
You want to sear it, right? You want it to get a good color on it, like a golden color. Okay, so
Those other tongs might be better. I think those are a little worked.
and another thing is you want to. I swear I know how to cook.
It's always hard on somebody else's stove. It takes a little
That's all
time.
right. No excuse. Okay. One thing I tell people when I'm teaching them how to cook is you use all your senses, right? So if I put this in the pan and I don't hear it sizzling like I want it to, it's not hot enough. So you just turn it up, right? Sometimes it's common sense. So you want to use like what you hear, obviously what you smell, what you taste things along the way. All right, so it's starting to get some sound here, popping. So you're gonna add more to it and add these shrimp. You want to try to keep them separated. They're not crowded. Okay, and then once you put them down, don't move them because you want to get that crust and that color on them as much as possible. Some people they get impatient and they start shaking the pan and moving stuff around, and that's not going to get you where you want to get. Okay. Getting hungry. All right. All right, well, that's cooking. I'm gonna take my, let's see here. Take my broth here. Strain it.
While you're doing that, folks want to know if you have bacon grease, do you leave it on the counter or put it in the fridge? Tiffany says that's a huge point of contention in her family.
That's a good question. You know, you can do both. I leave it on the counter, but with a lid on it. All right. It'll last longer in the refrigerator.
I think grandma always just kept hers on the stove. I don't
Yeah.
think she ever put it in
You
the fridge.
don't have to put it in the fridge. You can put it in the fridge.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
think
good.
our modern sensibilities is to refrigerate everything.
Yeah, everyone's scared.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared of things, and I'm not like that. I'm just, it's, you know, if I'm gonna be taken out by old bacon grease, so be it.
Yeah, but again, she used her bacon grease, I'd say daily. So
Yeah.
it didn't
Right.
sit long.
Most of the time, it's not gonna last that long. Okay.
Oh, somebody said they heard people make ice cubes out of it and keep it in bags.
That's a new one. I never heard
Yeah.
that.
Me neither. All these tidbits we can hear about it.
Okay, so these are keeping away. I'm just gonna pull one up, and check it. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that color on there, it's getting there.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you convinced me. I have to get a cast iron skillet.
You don't have one. Tamara, you don't have one?
We do, but we don't really.
No,
use
you
it much.
gotta use it.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm putting 2 cups of the stock back in the pot and start making our grits. So there's 2 cups of stock and then 2 cups of milk. I like my grits to be creamy. Okay.
is
We're
that
gonna
whole
start,
milk?
that's whole milk, yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna flip these shrimp. Flip the other side.
I know those are work.
I'm about to use my finger. Yeah. Get some nice color and texture on these.
Oh, there's both.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's what you want. Color. You're gonna put them on the other side for another minute.
Okay, so for anybody with a dairy intolerance, is there a substitute for that milk? Can you use something like an almond milk? I don't know.
That's a good. I've never done that.
Yeah.
I think you can.
Probably
I'd try
whichever milk substitute is the least
Sure.
flavorful, right? You don't want the flavors to affect the.
Right.
Good.
The idea is to get the fat and the cream is what gives it the cream.
Right.
Gives you the creamy texture you want. Yeah, try it. Try almond milk. Try whatever kind of non-dairy milk. There's really
Yeah,
there's really a lot of options out there.
if it were me, I would just make like a half a cup and see how it comes out before you ruin an entire recipe.
Right,
Try it
right.
once and see how you think it tastes.
Okay, so I'm taking these out now.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah. This is actually easy recipe to clean up because there's only 2 pots.
And this is how you don't overcook your shrimp, Carolyn. Someone said they wondered if oat milk might work. Someone else said coconut milk might work.
Yeah. Yeah, coconut milk would be great. So I added the bacon grease back into the pan. We'll put these veggies I cooked part way back in. So we'll do our onions and peppers first. Gonna get some. You'll brown these a little bit.
Now you can really smell that.
Yeah. Okay, I still have my milk and stock going. We're gonna add a little bit of salt to it. About a teaspoon. I'm gonna get that up to a boil. Okay. So we're gonna add the mushrooms to that actually. So you want the mushrooms to release all of their moisture. And we're gonna add a little bit of salt. Salt actually will help it release its moisture. The moisture. I made this dish yesterday. Just wanted to practice a little bit. And I brought it to a friend and she said she was going to rename her firstborn after this dish.
Oh, wow.
So that's it made me laugh.
The way it
So,
smells,
the
I
name
can
will be
imagine.
Shrimp and grits.
Yeah. Or maybe 2 kids, 1 shrimp and 1 grits. Poor shrimp.
Of course. So oil almost. Yeah. I'm gonna add the garlic into the pan. I'm gonna add the garlic and Cajun seasoning. Okay. Now it's gonna really start smelling good.
Yeah. That's Cajun seasoning.
So if you want it spicier, you can add as much Cajun seasoning as you want, right? Okay, so I have broth is boiling now. There's two different types of grits I have. I'm only going to use the yellow grits, but which are also called polenta. Old fashioned grits you can use for these corn grits. I like the corn grits or the yellow grits better, just because they have a little better corn flavor.
Is there a difference in grits and polenta, or is it the same thing?
The color. The color, I think this is a little bit bigger to me. You know, there's different grinds. So
That's it, literally corn grits and polenta.
right. These are just, they're white, these
Yeah.
ones. So I think it's just whatever your preference is. Some people, so I grew up eating cheese grits. So I'm a savory grits person.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know about those.
That you get with sugar,
Those
yeah.
sweet grits.
What
people,
is
I don't
that?
know about that.
I do like farina though,
Yeah, that's good. That's a little bit.
a little different, a little smaller grain,
Right.
a little different taste.
Okay, one thing about your grits, you want to keep stirring them so they don't stick to the bottom. Put them on. Simmer them. They're going to start getting thick. And then I don't know if you ever got burned by pot of grits before, but it burns.
It does.
There's a lot of-
It holds its
There's a
heat.
lot of sugar
Yeah,
that gets developed and it hurts.
so stir carefully.
Right. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take a cup of the reserved stock. We're gonna add it to the pan. Okay, we're gonna keep simmering this. It's gonna thicken up a little bit. It should. We'll see. We have some of that, the leftover cornstarch that was in there whenever we sauteed the shrimp. Okay, you can see the grits are starting to thicken up. And if you like your grits thick, you know, just keep cooking it until it thickens up to your liking. Some people like them more runny, some people like them thick. That's all up to you. And you'll see it, like if you go around to different restaurants that serve it, some people make them really thick, some people make them, you know, really soupy. I kind of like it in the middle.
Exactly. I like it in the middle.
Right.
I want to have to use a spoon to eat it. You know, I don't want it to be cakey,
Right.
but not too runny.
Right, so we get. Turn this down.
Yeah, it's starting to splatter. It's gonna burn you. There we go.
There it is. Just cutting it off. Okay, so minutes it would be great where we want it to be.
And this is totally so that it doesn't clump up. You just gotta keep that stir going.
Right. And then also stick to the bottom.
Right.
Stir it.
I'm always amazed at how fast grits cook.
I know they cook really fast. Yeah, somebody asked if they should use quick grits.
Yeah.
They're not as good. They're not as good.
And these are quick.
Right, these are quick enough. I'm gonna turn off the heat to the grits. Still hot. Add cheddar cheese to this, and that's going to thicken it up even more. So keep that in mind if you're worried about the texture, like, you know, if they're runny or not. You're going to add cheese to it, which will thicken it up more. Cheese in it. It's in the refrigerator. This is just basic sharp cheddar cheese. To the pot. Mix it up. Thick. Yeah, so that's done. Just gonna put a lid on it.
It's right here, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, lid on it to keep it warm. Okay, so this is starting to thicken up a little bit. I'm gonna add shrimp back in. So the shrimp are 75% cooked, basically. We're gonna do the other 25% in the sauce. Coating of the shrimp to help thicken up the sauce even more. And then we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of butter, which will help emulsify, big word. Just means bring together, basically, the sauce. Okay.
And it tastes really good.
And it tastes good. Who doesn't like butter? If you want, you can add butter to your grits. If you like that, if you want more, you want it to be even more rich. Okay. A little bit. Simmer it a little bit. Okay, then that comes up to, well, time to think about it. You were lying. Okay, so while that's simmering, we're gonna cut up some garnish. Okay. We have parsley. Don't be afraid of the stems of parsley. I don't know how you feel about them, but I like to just use them because they're all flavor. You just chop it up really finely. Okay. That.
Okay, we have a few questions while
Yeah.
we're at the stove here. Let's see. Please note the grits liquid amounts as the recipe isn't the same.
Mhm. I will, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, and is Old Bay seasoning acceptable?
Yes, absolutely. Old Bay is a very good seasoning. So if you like that over Cajun seasoning, so they have a lot of the same ingredients in them, both of those. I think Cajun is a little more spicy. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and
Okay.
use it.
Someone else says different corns is what these are. Polenta is from Flint and grits is dent or hominy corn. Interesting. And grits can have a finer grind while polenta is firmer.
Right.
Definitely, I agree with the polenta being firmer. And I think that's why I like the polenta.
Yes.
Yeah. And our friend Gary says you can't imagine how good this dish really is until you taste it. That's absolutely true. Any chef's advice for burns, as in burns to the skin in the kitchen?
Burns to the skin. Ice.
I'm gonna go with aloe. I always
aloe.
have an aloe plant. but I keep-
Aloe, time.
aloe
You just
in
have to
the
wait.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better answer for that.
I
yeah,
do keep
that's-
aloe gel in the fridge because it's cold
Mhm.
and it makes it feel a lot better if you put it
Yeah.
on quick.
I mean, it sounds like if he's asking or he or she's asking for a remedy for it, they got burned pretty bad.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Okay.
A good apron. Someone is asking, do you have any demos on YouTube?
No,
No.
I don't. This will be the first one.
Okay,
This
this
will be the
will
first.
be there later this week.
All right, so we have the shrimp and the sauce in the pan. I turned the heat off. So I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of parsley to it. The juice of 1 lemon. Trying to get the seeds in there, they're not good. If you want more lemon, add it. This is all up to you. And then we're just gonna stir it up. Okay, mix that up. Oh, that's good. That's it. Now we're gonna plate it. Do it right here. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna take the grits. Tamer, how's that texture?
Looks
Is it good?
beautiful. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
This is your house. I want to make sure you're
Oh,
happy.
absolutely. Yeah, you gotta use a spoon on those, but they're not runny.
All right.
So the bacon is a garnish?
Yep, bacon's gonna go on top.
I don't know if you ever used to go to the old Herwig's restaurant downtown, but
That place.
I
miss
loved their food. I miss it. I miss it so much.
That guy was the best.
Oh, yeah. But they had a sign on the wall that said that bacon was an herb.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Okay, if you don't like your bacon this thick, you can cut it smaller. But I like it thick because it's all about texture,
Yeah.
right? You got creamy, crunchy. And then also, this is not on the recipe. And then I'll adjust the recipe. And then we'll post that again. But green onions, diced. And that's it. Actually,
A lot of
because if you
chefs-
want more lemon,
A lot of chefs say that presentation is half the the dish. But
Yeah, we eat with our eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not really good with presentation. I
Yeah.
just like throw it on the plate and then
Yeah.
eat it.
All right.
That's it.
Oh, and the smell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It smells so amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Shawn.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, let me
You're
come
welcome.
around.
Thank you.
You can stay in the picture, that's
Okay.
fine. I want to come around here and thank Shawn. I mean, this is amazing, as you can tell. I also want to invite anybody who's watching to join us on Sunday for World Kitchen Thailand. That's our regular monthly series. This was a special edition, as I said. So if you haven't signed up for that and want to, it's on our website at wpsu.org/worldkitchen. And for those of you who have been following us all this time, we are finally getting to the point where we're going to have that in-person event for you over the summer. Keep your eyes peeled on our website as well for that in-person event. Thanks, and we'll see you Sunday.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.